Hi guys, how's it going? So it's that time again where a tech company talks at length about how good they are and slips in a tiny amount of information about an upcoming product, and Nvidia's Computex 2021 announcement is exactly in that mold. Of the 53-minute video, they spent about 27 minutes talking about AI and enterprise, including almost a minute talking about soap. Yes, soap, of all things. They also spent about 17 minutes advertising their partners' laptop products and features that we already have, like Nvidia Reflex and DLSS. There were several minutes of animations that I'm not sure who they were aimed at, a complete waste of time for enterprise/professional segment, and irrelevant for end users who mostly won't have watched this anyway. Out of all that leaves about 5.5 minutes to talk about GPUs, about 10% of the total presentation. But wait, it gets worse, as 1 minute 42 seconds of that was taken up with a demo of Doom Eternal. So with a total of just 1 minute and 24 seconds actually talking about the new flagship 3080 Ti, yes, I said new twice, yes, it's their new flagship. They've already had a flagship once this generation, the 3080, or the 3090, which was the top-end card and therefore the flagship, but anyway, whatever. And they spent just 25 seconds talking about the new 3070 Ti, which is actually half the time they spent talking about soap. It's pretty clear Nvidia don't think much about their new products, otherwise they would have talked about them more than, well, soap. Anyway, over to Jeff Fisher to briefly talk about the 3080 Ti.
RTX has been a huge success, and today we are announcing a new addition to the family. The GeForce RTX 3080 Ti is our new flagship gaming GPU. Based on Ampere with second generation RT cores and third generation Tensor cores, Ampere is our greatest generational leap ever.
Right, so Nvidia are again using the lie that Ampere is the greatest generational leap ever, and so it's time to pull them up on it again, for anyone who might think that it has any merit whatsoever. This is Tech PowerUp's 2080 Ti 3090 relative performance, which shows a 45% generational leap. This is the 980 Ti versus 1080 Ti performance, a 67% generational leap. 67 is more than 45. And to back that up, we have Hardware Unboxed 3090 review. Benchmarks at 1440p. The 3090 is 32% faster than the 2080 Ti, but the 1080 Ti was a whopping 74% faster gen on gen. And at 4K, the 3090 is 44% quicker, but the 1080 Ti was 81% faster than the 980 Ti. That's not even the greatest jump in GPU history, but cards from 20 or so years ago aren't really relevant, whereas cards that people are still using today, I would say is. Anyway, back to Jeff.
The GTX 1080 Ti, released in 2017, could tackle all the games of its time. But this well-loved GPU simply can't keep up with the demands of modern games.
I just want to hold on this graph for a minute to point out what Nvidia is doing here. Notice how in Cyberpunk 2077 it says a 1080 Ti, or Ti, whichever, gets, what, around 5 FPS? Well, that's not exactly true. Even my old RX 480 could do better than that, and that's equivalent to a 1060. What they appear to have done here is enabled ray tracing, which the 10 series predates and therefore cannot support. The fact Minecraft RTX shows similar performance to Cyberpunk would seem to confirm this. Assassin's Creed Valhalla and Borderlands 5 aren't ray tracing titles, and the 1080 Ti performs much better. What this of course means is Nvidia are using different settings here for different games, and therefore it's a pretty worthless but highly misleading graph. Anyway, back to Jeff.
The RTX 2080 Ti was introduced as the only way to play in 4K with RTX on. But the production value of games continues to march forward.
And this just confirms we have a mixed data point graph, 4 games with ray tracing on and 2 without, which is not made clear, except for Minecraft, I suppose.
New titles like Cyberpunk 2077 and Watch Dogs Legion have elevated realism, demanding even more of the GPU. The RTX 3080 Ti is 1.5 times faster than its predecessor and tears through the latest games with all the settings cranked up.
It's not 1.5 times faster though, because the 3090, which is slightly quicker than the 3080 Ti due to higher clocks and slightly more cores, is only 1.45 times faster than the 2080 Ti. Now, there's not much difference between a 3080 Ti and a 3090, but the 3090 is the faster of the two, and that is less than 1.5x.
The RTX 3080 Ti is a powerful GPU with 34 shader teraflops, 67 RT teraflops, and 273 tensor teraflops. It comes equipped with 12 gigabytes of ultra-fast G6X memory and a 384-bit memory interface. Availability will begin on June 3rd, starting at $11.99.
$11.99. If you manage to snag one of the probably extremely limited quantity of reference spec models directly from Nvidia, don't have the crypto mining hash rate limiter on them. AIB models will cost more, and who knows what availability will be like on those. $11.99 is an absurd price for a GPU. And this is where we need to talk again about how these are cut down, not good enough for 3090 dies, and they should be being sold as 3080s. Nvidia has not been able to keep the 3080 in stock, and people still have them on back order from last year. And instead of shipping these dies as 3080s or putting 3080s on shelves at MSRP for people who want to buy them, we get this instead. It's a cash grab, and frankly it stinks. If Nvidia could supply 3080s to people who wanted them, I'd think this card was pointless because it performs so close to the existing GA102 cards that they have on the market. But what they've done is said to customers, have this almost identically performing card for more money instead. Yeah, moving on.
And that's not all. The RTX 3070 quickly became our most popular Ampere GPU. Now we're adding a Ti to this class of GeForce, with more cores and super fast G6X memory. Today we're announcing the all-new RTX 3070 Ti. It's 1.5 times faster than a 2070 Super, and availability will begin on June 10th, starting at $599. Thanks everyone for your time.
Here's that layered over Nvidias talking about soap.
Yes, soap.
Anyway, 25 seconds to talk about, in his own words, the Ti version of the most popular Ampere GPU. I think that's pretty telling. But what can we infer about this card? Instead of real, or even dodgy performance data to go on, they've given us things like RT flops, which are mostly useless, but considering this is a GA104 die, like the 3070, let's just have a quick compare of the two anyway. So we have 10% more shader T-flops, 5% more RT T-flops,
To guide the design and supply chain of the soap.
and roughly 6% more tensor flops. Even if we assumed perfect scaling, which is unrealistic, that would give us at best 10% performance increase, and reality less than that for what is a 20% price premium. That's not looking good, but as someone who owns a 3070, I will say that overclocking the memory does boost frame rates quite a bit. Well, a couple of percent to be honest. So the G6X of the Ti, whichever, will at least give that performance out of the box, and possibly a bit more. Maybe. Nvidia do also say 1.5x of the RTX 2070 Super, but as they said that the 3080 Ti was 1.5x of the 2080 Ti, and we know that can't be totally accurate because that would make the card faster than 3090, which it won't be because it's slower than the 3090, we should take this figure with a grain of salt as well. But let's just see how that would stack up if it were accurate. So using hardware unboxed numbers of the 3070 non-Ti, it was around 38% faster than the 2070 Super at 4K, which is the biggest improvement at any resolution, so it makes sense for Nvidia to do the same for the Ti. Maybe 12% quicker if the claim of 1.5x is to be believed, but there really is no reason to, as Nvidia are clearly exaggerating the 1.5x claim on the 80 Ti. And so I'm just going to estimate, based on Nvidia's reluctance to talk too much about this card, that it's about 7% faster than the non-Ti, and if that's close, it's in no way worth an extra 20% on the price. And remember, they haven't got 3070s on shelves, or 3060 Ti's, which are the same die. So again, this is an example of them selling these dies at a premium rather than meeting demand on existing products. No wonder they would rather talk about soap. These products are frankly embarrassing. Anyway, I hope you liked the video, and if you did, perhaps you'd consider giving it a like or even subscribing. So you can find out in a couple of weeks how close my guess on the 3070 Ti was, or maybe dropping your estimate in the comments below.